vile deeds, awake.
Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the red dawn.
So can I ask you what the Two Towers means to you? Do you have any memory of when you went to see it in the theater? Like what sticks out about that for you?
Wow. So all three movies are special to me because I saw them with my daughter. So my wife isn't into fantasy, generally into theater, and my daughter and I were the pals that way. We went to live theater. We went to fantasy movies together. So probably my biggest memory was being able to see all three movies with my daughter before she moved out, and now she's married.
Well, that was awesome.
So that to me is, and we used to watch, once the DVDs came out, we would watch all of them every single the winter holiday, and I'm in the middle of now watching them again. I do that every year, kind of as a tribute to my daughter. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's it. I mean, I know the books intimately. I'm not a Silmarillion Tolkien expert, but I read the books many times and read them out loud to my daughter.
How great is it? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I was just going to say, how great is it that this film franchise and that these books are so timeless? You know, they're not timely. They're not for that era. They're timeless. And like you said, Paul, like you were able to watch that with your daughter, and that's something that you will always hold dear. And I think everyone has kind of a moment where they remember when they were watching these films, and a lot of us like do it every year now because it's timeless. It will last forever. And I just love that sentiment that these films bring to a lot of people, is that it brings people together, and it's also something that a lot of people have continued to do year after year after year. But yeah, it's
I think cool Rings of Power will have that staying.
That's what fantasy is supposed to be, and that's what the books and the movies both did incredibly well. Is that yeah, of course, Tolkien, looked at the world around him, and that inspired some of the way that he wrote, but he didn't write it for that era. He wrote it as something separate, so that as the decades pass and pass and pass, you don't have to be in that time to be able to still understand the messages that he's going for, as opposed to, I don't know why I'm live or full right now, but as opposed to everything that we see nowadays is clearly made for 2022. It's meant specifically to think like this one little thing, or you guys remember that January 6th moment, or you guys remember this climate outcry? Like that's how everything is written, including the fantasy adventures that we're seeing this year.
One thing that I would point out to you, and no one talks about this, and this is worth discussing, I might make a video on it, is that the stuff that touches us, like Lord of the Rings, expands in ways that people don't anticipate. So when the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit became popular, it's also when we started getting into Altair computers and Apple IIs and modems, and companies were calling themselves Gandalf, and there were Hobbit connectors. And so the great unwashed out there had no idea what the F any of these things meant, or didn't know the connections, but we did as nerds. It was cool to get the Gandalf 232 serial switch. Okay, like I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly.
Yeah,
but
we even have like a Intel like gathering thing called Palantir. Right?
Sure,
That's
okay,
a big thing being used in the military right now. Yeah.
So that's exactly my point, is how this has infused and infiltrated so much of a certain subculture that almost nothing that has been created recently can duplicate apart from Harry Potter.
Right. Yeah,
so,
no, I agree.
So that and there might be some other properties obviously out there, but it's the inadvertent borrowing of the ideas and through love naming things and naming your daughter. Actually, this is going to sound very nerdy. If our second kid ended up being a girl, we were going to call her Delan. And do you know where that's from? Babylon 5.
Okay, I had no idea what that was from.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
No, but I jumped in.
I didn't want to be like, no, I don't know, and then you're like, oh, it's from a super obvious thing.
That's why I jumped in. I didn't want to embarrass anybody.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Oh, that's from the stripper movie. Yeah, no, the porn
yeah.
film.
I would have seen that, I think.
Yeah, the porn film. I saw that. So, and that's and Babylon 5 actually had a nerd legacy, where people like myself wanted to call their kids a character from the series, and then machinery and stuff got named, different stuff because
a lot of kids named Daenerys now that people regret.
Oh, dude,